Welcome back to Out Loud. We will be back with Aaron Sievert from the Democratic Party of Jefferson, and we are going to be talking about what we can do to get involved, and stay communicative, as we recall the governor and the lieutenant governor, Rebecca Fish. A big announcement, and it came to my attention, and it's very exciting, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Starting on Monday, Out Loud with myself, Mary Carol, will be moving to 4 to 5 p.m., which is super exciting. And what's even more exciting is we're going to have more local programming. From 5 to 6 p.m., we will now have, if I can get this correct, the People's Mic with Doug Cunningham.
Yeah, that's right.
Doug Cunningham, welcome to Madison's Progressive Talk, the Mic 92.1. And congratulations. From 5 to 6 p.m., Doug will be taking over with his show, The People's Mic. I'm going to be moving to 4 to 5 p.m. It's like what they did at MSNBC with Ed Schultz. And sometimes you just rearrange things so we can have more local programming, which is what we hear from often. And when I started this show, the emails and the calls and everything that I get every day since then is thank you, more local programming. So thank you for being a part of that and wanting to do this show. And if you could tell everybody a little bit about yourself real quick and what the show's going to be about.
Sure. First, thank you for this opportunity to be on. And I wanted to stress this is not any kind of a hostile takeover or bumping Mary out of her slot. This is more local programming for both of us.
They've seen my muscles. They know I'm
okay. Yeah. Not that I could elbow you out if I wanted to, right? But the People's Mic is basically going to be a megaphone for the powerless many, speaking some truth to the powerful few. I mean, it's about time that people in this country had more, not less, progressive voices on the air, and local homegrown progressive voices are very, very important to all of this. For about 7 years now, we have been doing a daily newscast called Workers Independent News, where we've put it out to 200 radio stations around the country. We do it from here in Madison, and we've been putting working class voices on the air and organized labor on the air. And the People's Mic will be a combination of that. It's going to be labor, but it's also going to be the broader progressive community. And we're going to make the people themselves the stars of this show. We're going to try to do exactly what the protesters in February and March at our Capitol did with what they called the People's Mic, which they often set up inside the rotunda, the occupied rotunda at the time. And they let anyone who wanted to speak their mind on the issues come forward and talk to everyone else about what their concerns are, what their issues are. We are really eyewitnesses to history right now in an extremely remarkable way. And, what happened in Ohio last night when the majority of folks said, no, Governor Kasich, we're not going to accept your attack on collective bargaining rights. We are seeing in this country, I think, a great awakening. And I think this great awakening started in many ways here in Madison.
Absolutely. Right? I think without a doubt. You hear it. I'm involved in contact with numerous, probably at least 100 of the Occupy movements around this country and around the world I keep in touch with. And there's not a one of them doesn't bring up Wisconsin.
No, I mean,
and how it sparked it and how they all were like, we're not going to take it either. We have rights and we are going to do what is right for this country.
And the great thing about that, Mary, is that this is not any kind of a radical movement. In fact, it's just the opposite. This is a mainstream movement that started here in Wisconsin, a mainstream middle-class working family movement that basically said, these are human rights that you're trying to take from us, and we're not going to take that. What we have in this country, in a lot of state houses, including in our own, I think, is an extremist, radical minority that have seized control of our government, and we are actually the majority. I mean, if you look at polling on a range of issues that most folks would consider progressive stances, you can see that the majorities time and time again say, we want to go in that direction. But the politicians, and I might add, politicians of both parties share this guilt, right?
Agree.
They've taken us in a different direction. And we're not going to be all about partisan politics and the battle, but a lot of that is unavoidable because we have been pushed as working class and middle class families into a position where they are attacking us, and our action now has got to be self-defense, right? So while we're not always going to be, at war on the People's Mic, we are going to give full-throated voice to the people of Wisconsin and the people around the country, because I, too, am in touch with the Occupy movement around the country, right?
And I think we all are. You have to pay attention. It's how we're communicating and how we know what's going on because of, unfortunately, some mainstream media. As much as I love media, it doesn't necessarily get the story straight. or they tell a glimpse of it because they have deadlines and, they're run by whatever. I get that.
Right.
But it's a nice way. I mean, thank goodness for social media. It really has changed the face of how things are done politically. And I think in our favor. I would, that's how this movement is living. And now with you doing the show, I'm going to go ahead and just throw it out there. I feel like you're going to do okay. You definitely know what you're talking about. You're not shy at all. I
hope so. But
I think you're going to do just fine there.
I've been mainly a newscaster, and just a little bit of background personally. I mean, I don't want to go on and on about myself, but I'm doing Workers Independent News now, anchoring, co-producing the daily newscast from Madison, a couple hundred radio stations around the country. I spent over half a decade covering Wisconsin state government and the congressional delegation for the Wisconsin Radio Network. And, there's a lot of experience that I bring to the table, but also other folks involved with Workers Independent News. Dr. Frank Emspak, who's our executive producer and co-founder. He's a retired professor from the UW School of Workers. He's going to be on the show as a recurring guest. We've got Jesse Russell, who is also, in addition to co-producing Workers Independent News with me, is also with Dane 101, the website here, in Dane County. He's going to be on. He's going to be involved. We're going to be hearing from all sorts of progressive folks from all over the map. And believe me, there's plenty of voices out there for both you and I to have on the air, to speak out. And we have to continue to speak out, and we have to continue to seize or occupy radio, if you will, for the masses of people out there. And again, it's not a radical kind of a concept. This is mainstream America.
I think it's great. 2 local shows back to back, Out Loud and the People's Mic. Can it be any more apparent that we want to hear from you and want to make sure that your stories are told and that we're getting information out there? I mean, I love it. That's why I want to be a part of this radio station. I've listened to it for since the beginning, and to just keep growing in the way it's growing. I mean, it almost it's like a grassroots radio station from where it began to where it is now and where we're taking the future. And I'm sure I'm honored you're going to be a part of this. And we're going to have 2 hours of local programming. If you're just tuning in, Out Loud with myself, Mary Carroll, is being moved starting Monday to 4 to 5 p.m. And then after that will be the People's Mic with Doug Cunningham, who we're introducing to you now and giving a little background on him and where he's going to take you in the future right here on the People's Mic, the 92.1 The Mic. I mean...
Hey, how perfect is that, right?
It's like, it's like we're besties already, Doug. We're going to have fun. Maybe we could do crossover from one to the other.
Hey, anytime, man. Whatever works,
Like they do on MSNBC. It'll be great how they're like, okay, Rachel. Hi, Rachel. Welcome. And then they have a little banter. Right. We're going to banter, Doug, you and I.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll hug you. I'm going to bear hug you. You don't even know it.
Hey, sounds like a warm welcome to me. I just and we want to make sure we light up those phone lines too, because part of this thing, the People's Mic is not going to work unless the people actually step up to that mic and take it into their hands and realize that we want to hear not only your opinions on any particular issue that we decide is important, but we want to hear what you think is important. And we want to make sure that we amplify your voice about what your life is like. We want to hear experiences from folks too. I mean, not often do you hear on the radio working class people give voice to their daily struggles, and it's becoming more and more difficult.
Well, you hear it here. I hear from people all the time.
You do, yeah, you do.
First time I opened up the lines, because we hadn't done local programming on the mic for I don't know how long, the phone lines went nuts. Anytime I ask, you're going to find that what's great about the mic listeners, if you ask, they're going to call and they're going to tell you their opinion. They have great creative ideas. They're in touch. It's amazing to me, especially my generation and younger, who are paying attention and fiercely paying attention to what is going on. And I think you're seeing it not only in Wisconsin, but around the country. People who had never been. I mean, I'm reading the Ohio articles, and it's just hundreds of people who I never was in politics, but they came after me. And they're putting the brunt of the economy on me and blaming me and taking away my rights. Oh, no. And people now pay attention and they're involved. And I think it's beautiful and amazing. And you never have to worry about that here. I promise you. The mic, our audience, our listeners, top notch when it comes to paying attention and wanting to be a part of something.
Well, it truly is a great awakening, and that's not just rhetoric. I mean, people are becoming much more conscious of events, much more conscious of policies, much more conscious of what that means to them and to their families, and everybody knows what's good for themselves as a worker or as a working family. I mean, you got to have a good job, you got to have pensions that offer some kind of retirement security, you got to have decent health care, you got to have a government in place that isn't attacking you all the time and taking away from you all the time, but actually building you up and building up the middle class in this this country. And so, people are aware of that. They know that that's what's happening. When I checked with Melissa Fazekas last night on the Ohio results, I mean, to hear the excitement in her voice about what we had done there, and by we, I mean all working families, mainstream working families. They had firefighters, police officers, much like we have here in Madison, who were part of the struggle and part of the movement. Unlike here in Wisconsin, the collective bargaining attack in Ohio, of course, did include firefighters and police.
Right.
And
well,
so,
in a way, it does here too. I mean,
sure
they're
it does.
well aware they had to make
yeah.
cuts, and it wasn't directly from the budget, but it through time is proving to affect them. And if you let them go this far, what's to say if we don't recall them that next year he's going to be like, you know what? I was looking over the budget again, and even though it doesn't have anything to do with the budget, and I've admitted it doesn't have anything to do with the budget, and I'm just going to, sorry guys, the Koch brothers decided they want to not only privatize the prisons, we're going to now privatize the police and the teachers, and there's no, once you allow it to happen, it doesn't stop. They're just going to keep, that's why they marched with us at the Tundra, at the Capitol. That's why they were there, because they get it. They know if you allow this, more is to come.
Everyone understood that this was not just an attack on some special interest organized labor sector in the society, but it was an attack on all of us.
Yeah.
People got that, and people got that in Ohio. And that Ohio vote was so historic because it was the first time, I believe, in the history of the United States that a statewide vote was held on that question alone. Do people have the right to collective bargaining? And a resounding, crushing defeat for Governor Kasich. The voters of Ohio said, yes, indeed, we do. And I know that we at Workers Independent News and in the labor movement, we consider collective bargaining a sacrosanct, basic human right.
Absolutely.
I mean, to us, it's almost like a right to vote, because it's your
High
voice.
High five. Solidarity, brother. We got to take a break. It's an honor to have you on Madison's Progressive Talk the Mic. Doug Cunningham, starting Monday, the People's Mic begins on Madison's Progressive Talk the Mic, 92.1 from 5 to 6. I'll be moving to 4 to 5 p.m. I get to get home a little bit earlier and hug my kids. So thank you for that, Doug.
Thanks, Mary. It's great to be on. Thank you for the gracious introduction.
It's a pleasure. We'll see you on Monday. We'll be right back.